What is up, everybody? It's your boy Hazed here, and I am so excited to be here. It is truly Christmas in July. With the release of Attack of the Vine and Lorcana, we are having a rotation. What that means is we are going to be losing sets 5 through 8. Will no longer be core constructed legal, and only sets 9 through 13 really will be core constructed legal. So this opens up a whole lot of possibilities. Some cards that may have been kept down in the meta are going to get a chance to flourish, and it is a deck builder's exciting time. So I wanted to put together my thoughts and go over 5 decks / ideas that I've had and I think are good blueprints to start. Again, everything is an idea in this. So if you see something that looks cool and you can improve upon it, I'm sure you can. I'm one person. I have played a lot of games, probably about 400 at this point. So played quite a few games. So while I have a good understanding of what the meta looks like, I'm only one person, and other people may have a differing opinion and use this just as a blueprint just for these ideas and build upon it, make it your own. And without further ado, let's look at our first deck. The first deck that I have for you guys today is a Blurple deck. I figured I had to start here. Might as well get it out of the way first. This is a very different look to what you may be used to seeing in a Blurple shell. There are 0 traditional ramp cards, if you will. There are some alternative ramp cards that we'll talk about briefly, but this does not have Sail of the Azurite Sea. It does not have Tipo. It does not have One Jump Ahead. Obviously, the first 2 are out of core constructed. They're not legal anymore. One Jump Ahead still is, but this deck is doing something a little different. We are utilizing a card called Christopher Robin. He lets you play any honey card regardless of its ink color. So you'll see there is a emerald card, a Rue, in this deck that is not blue or purple or amethyst or sapphire. So we are able to play this card because of that Christopher Robin. You can see the name of the deck. We named it No Capes. I'm not going to play that clip because I don't need a copyright strike on my new channel. But if you don't know where that clip is from, I suggest watching The Incredibles. Edna Mode has a really funny line in that. So basically, this deck is an aggro shell. You're kind of waiting your turn to turn everything sideways and gain a ton of lore. You have different avenues of bursting for a lot of lore with the Pocahontas, with the Boo. Then the extra thing that I added in here is the Edna. So Edna is a card that when she's played can bounce an item and draw a card. So you can bounce your staff, your magical honey staff, back into your hand and draw a card. But she has another part of text that says when she quests, super characters get +1 lore. So couple of things here. You have Splatter Phoenix, which is the underdog for the Sapphire decks. That is a ward card. It is also a super. So if you quest with Edna, Splatter Phoenix will quest for 3. Dash will also quest for 3 if you have 1 Edna out. So you can burst for 3 lore out of nowhere. Importantly, make sure you play the Dash before you quest with Edna because it has to see that quest to make sure you get that extra lore. A couple other avenues that you can burst for lore. You have the Winnie the Pooh, the Archmage. This card gains 2 extra lore if you have 2 other honey characters out. So the magical honey staff, and again, we have a lot of new cards in this. That it is a very, very different Blurple deck. It is, again, like I said, very aggro. But honey staff, you can pay 1 to make a character of yours honey. The honey type, so it can help trigger that Archmage Winnie the Pooh. It also, you can pay 2 and tap it to give a honey character evasive, so it gives you a little bit of lore burst while keeping it evasive and trying to keep your characters safe. We also have cards like Cruella and Ursula, who are going to help ramp us from the top of our deck while not hurting our hand size. Eeyore also gives you some extra lore burst, but I have played a lot of games with this deck and just kind of turned sideways for 19 or 20 in one turn. and they have to really answer the whole board, and it is very hard for them to do so. And then you have kind of Dash to finish that off as well. It's a very fun deck. I think there's a lot of room for exploring. I know there's other versions of Blurple that I've seen out there that are playing some of these honey cards with maybe the Singer, and then going back to the second star to the right that we saw after rotation the first time around. But I wanted to try something a little different, and this was the route I went. I do want to give a shout out to, I think Jack Shadows had a list that was somewhat similar to this, a little more low to the ground Kiwi version of deck. But I really thought Edna was kind of the missing piece there to give you a little bit more draw, because so much of the draw was on turns 5 and 6, or with 5 and 6 ink, that I wanted to try to help fill my hand early so that I'm just not gassing out. But yeah, this deck is very fun. It can kind of steal games. I'm not going to say it's the most meta competitive deck yet, but we don't really know exactly what that meta is going to look like. But I will say, give this a try. It is definitely new for those of you that have played Blurple for a long time. It is not the same play patterns. You are not really a mid-range deck. You are kind of, maybe tempo would probably be the way I would say. It's you kind of want to get your lore when you can, and sometimes you're going to have to turn sideways in the face of bad trades because you're going to try to get across the finish line before they can stabilize. But yeah, fun deck. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Let's move on to the next deck that I have for you. The next deck I have for you is really built on the back of Mickey and Minnie, the tag team free shift. I mean, I guess you could call it a free shift, but it does require both Minnie and Mickey to be out on your battlefield to get out, unless you're playing a card called the Pod, the Vine Pod. Vine Pod, well, let's talk about Mickey and Minnie first, but Mickey and Minnie is a zero cost shift that you can play, but you have to have Mickey and Minnie both on to be able to shift it. It's a quest for 5, which is a lot of lore. And when it is banished, all the cards that were going to be banished go into your inkwell. So it will ramp you for 3 if it is banished in a traditional sense. If it's bounced back to hand, or it can't be your welcome, but maybe Chernabog, something like that, then that's not going to that effect's not going to happen. Obviously, if it's Let It Go or Hades, it's same effect's really happening, even though it's not technically banished. It's still going into your inkwell. But the card I thought was not going to be very good, but it is actually pretty good, and you can do it pretty reliably. So we're playing things like Develop Your Brain and Strike a Good Match to help find those pieces. But I also want to mention the Vine Pod. Vine Pod works in a way that lets you play Mickey and Minnie if you only have the Mickey and Minnie shift card. If you only have one Mickey or one Minnie out, you can sack one of them and play the shift card. Now, you're not able to immediately quest with that card because you're not shifting it, but it is still a pretty interesting way of cheating that card out, because again, it is a 5 lore quester. That is a very quick clock, especially if you do it early on in the game. We're hoping to find those pieces so that when the Mickey and Minnie do get banished, you're able to play some of these high costed cards that you see here. Obviously, Prince Philip. We're playing the Mean, Malicious, and Scary. Also playing the uninkable Prince Philip that gives all of your heroes ward, because Mickey and Minnie are all heroes. Mushu is not, Pete is not, Hades is not, but Hades already has ward. But both the big Prince Philip, Mickey, and Minnie are giving them all ward is pretty relevant. There's a lot of targeted effects that are in the meta right now, so this is a very fun deck. I'm not going to say that this 60 is like the solved green-blue deck, but it's a good start. I've enjoyed it. I've had some fun. The Pete is very good right now. And I've also I really didn't think this Prince Philip was going to be very good, the uninkable one, but the card's actually pretty solid. You could also use the Vine Pod to get the big Philip out instead of paying the ship cost in a pinch, if you really needed to. Mushu is there just because you're normally pretty low on cards. So being able to trigger that, it happens pretty often with this deck. So yeah, I've liked a lot of this shell, but like I said, this is maybe 50 cards that are right and 10 that are not. But I've enjoyed it. It's a fun deck. Give it a try. Let's move on to the next one. Now it is time for everybody's favorite cereal, Sully Loops. This is a really solid deck. I think everyone's playing it. My hot take is it's probably not as good as everyone is kind of talking about, but I do think eventually the 60 will get figured out and this deck will be a top contender. Not my favorite deck to probably start day one of the meta with, but the ideas of the deck. It's not really a new thing, right? We know what red yellow boost did in the past. You're playing diaries, you're playing a bunch of boost cards, and you are drawing a bunch of cards. But what you're adding now is Sully. Both Sully the bodyguard, it's like set one Hades, if you know, for those that know ball. But it's also a bodyguard, which is nice. So when you play it, you can get a card back and protect what you already have out. You're also playing Boo, which is a rush 0/1 that when it swings into a 3 attack or less character, it immediately banishes that character and takes no damage. And then you're playing a combo shift card called Sully and Boo that when it dies, you replay the two characters that or any characters that were underneath it. So you're immediately getting that Sully effect again if you had a Sully underneath it, or you're getting the Boo effect again if that was underneath it. So there's some really cool things you can do. There's a lot of redundancy within the deck. Again, my shell may not be perfect. I'm going to kind of reiterate myself here. This is just an idea. I'm sure that you can refine this and get better and better with it. Maybe rewrite history is no longer needed because you have the Sully. You're able to keep just replaying cards from your graveyard. You don't need to sing them to get them out. My thinking was I needed at least a couple of songs to trigger Ariel, even though she's just a 1-cost boost anyways. But yeah, I think this deck is very fun. If you were playing this kind of shell and core in the past set or two, very easy transition. I'm just worried about item removal because really if that either your diary gets banished or you never find your diary, whether it was boosted under one of your cards or it just was on the wrong side of your deck, it hurts. Your card draw, it really hurts your card draw for sure. So that's one of the big weaknesses of the deck. And also you do get kind of thin on the deck because you're just boosting so often that you're really going through your whole deck. Like so many games that I play against red yellow that they're on like less than 5 cards in their deck. And sometimes I can just draw them out and they just run out of cards and die. But yeah, this is it's a fun deck. It's not really new. It's probably the easiest pick up and go deck. I think there's a lot of innovation to be had here. I've seen the Olaf, infinite Olaf pretty much with the Horn King and Pawat and Staff. I am also playing Besties Assemble in this deck instead of Be Our Guest. Argument for both, right? Obviously Be Our Guest with Ariel is nice, but Besties being a 1-cost is really nice when you're trying to fit in some extra boost. Obviously singing it is free, but I like Besties a lot. It's just it's really good card, I think, in this set. So fun deck, easy transition for those red yellow gamers out there. But yeah, let me know what you think and we'll move on to our 4th deck. All right, we've got the droids you're looking for. Had to do a little Star Wars crossover here on this one, but this deck is surprisingly good. I will say I think it has recently taken a little bit of a hit because more decks are playing Criminal Mind and Gaston. But this deck is still pretty solid. I think Angel is a very good card in the meta right now for 4-cost Angel. And being able to discard droids and then play them for free is really nice with Syndrome. Also playing a bunch of the Steelsong stuff, a bunch of removal, and the new Maylin Lee, which is pretty much like Ariel, but she can find herself. It's a fun deck. You could probably round out some of these numbers if you wanted to where Ohana Means Family is kind of weird. I drew like 6 off of her droid one time and I was like, I'm going to play this card again, but kind of a Timmy thought there. You could probably cut it and round out some of your numbers, maybe probably a 4th Maylin Lee and another Omni Droid. It is nice, however, to play Growing Pressure into an Omni Droid because if you have Ohana in hand, it's like you're going to draw cards for sure. Yeah, this deck is fun. You can kind of just high roll and run away with games because if they don't have those answers, like I mentioned, the Gaston and the Criminal Mind, those droids are extremely hard to remove, and they have to remove the syndrome first. So it's like kill the syndrome and then kill the droid, because if not, you're gonna keep playing those droids. The broke your smolder or lose my smolder was also, or you broke my smolder. I'm sorry, I can't get these new cards names right, but it's nice to discard those droids as well. We want some discard outlets. We have the angel, and like I mentioned before, fun deck. I think you can see the synergies that are here. There is a lot of Amber Steel, different ways to build it. You can go straight up aggro with Lilo and Stitch and Rockstar Stitch. You can go a little more mid range with, you know, the new tag team Lilo and Stitch, which is a really good card. There's a lot of different ways to build Amber Steel. This is the way that I went. It's probably not the most popular, but it is a fun one. Again, just an idea. You take it, run with it, and do what you want with it, because I'm sure you guys will come up with stuff better than I did. Let's move on to our last deck that I have for you. All right, here we are with the last deck that I have for you today. Probably the least fun name that I've had on here. So if you guys think of a better name, let me know. We'll update it on here. But this is Merida and her detectives. So it's a lot of like a detective shell with Merida. A lot of these detective cards are pretty dang good. I will say this deck doesn't really have a lot of like high roll potential. You're just playing a lot of solid cards, and you're hoping to see them in the right order. Um, it's a fun deck. A lot of removal. You can just sit there and remove things for multiple turns. Darkwing Duck is very fun. The Goliath, getting Goliath out is also good against some purple decks that draw a lot of cards. You can really punish them if they don't expect it. It's a little slow, but that's kind of the way I built it. I'm sure there's a princess version that can go a lot faster than this. But I kind of wanted to play the detective package to play that mid-range, kind of play the board thing, play big dudes and girls, and just win on big stats. It's a fun deck. I'm not the blue steel guy. I know there are plenty of people that fill that space, but it is a fun deck. I've enjoyed it. Let me know what you're cooking as far as blue steel goes. But these were the 5 decks that I had, and I'll just give you some closing thoughts and get you guys on your way. So those are the 5 decks I had for you at the start of Attack of the Vine. Very fun ideas. This meta feels pretty open. You can obviously realize there's a deck archetype I did not include because I felt like we've seen enough of it, and I'm sure there's a bunch of videos out there already going over yellow green, amber emerald, aggro decks. There's a lot of piles, a lot of different ways to build it, but it's kind of the same thing. It all revolves around Eleanor and normally the queen to help draw cards and just put up a lot of threats very quickly with the new, or not new, it's really a set old now, the Pocahontas, to get wide super fast, draw cards, and close the game out rather quickly. Yeah, I did not include that one because I wanted to give you guys some kind of newer ideas. If you wanted to find that deck, I'm sure you can search it up and you'll see a bunch of them. I have a couple other decks that I'm keeping a little closer to the vest because there is a CCQ this weekend that I'm attending, and I did not post those, but I will have videos going over those. I'm normally not that guy, but this time I am really trying to have a good run at this event. So I'll be happy to talk about those said decks after the event happens. This meta is awesome. I know people are kind of talking about that they want to see some bans happen. Not sure I'm there yet. I think that there is a lot to be figured out. I think that let's let it breathe a little bit first. If we get a week down the line and it's like, hey, nothing is kind of working against this deck, then let's reevaluate it. But I'm excited about the meta. I think there's a lot of cards that never got their chance to shine that we're getting to see, and that's exciting. We don't have a lot of new cards to brew with, but we kind of do. The set's still the same size, but you're really getting an extra 300 to 400 cards that you haven't gotten to use because they've just been power crept out. So it's fun. It's a very fun time. Highly encourage you to jump in. Get testing, find out what decks you like. Let me know what you thought of the video today. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor, Triad, as always. If you guys are going to the CCQ in Tampa, I'd be happy to see you there. Make sure you say hi. Be safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.